Good morning, everybody. My name is Dr. Charles Browne. I'm a professor of applied linguistics and TESOL at Meiji Gakuin University in Tokyo, Japan. I've actually been in Japan for more than 30 years, and for most of those years, working on trying to improve English education here in this country, especially for the past 20 years, focusing on the areas of second language vocabulary acquisition and also reading skills development. Today, I'd like to talk to you about what we are calling the NGSL project. NGSL stands for New General Service List. This is a collection of corpus-based vocabulary lists and associated online learning tools and teaching tools to help meet the needs of second language learners. Perhaps the first question to ask is, why vocabulary? Well, certainly here in Japan, there hasn't been a strong focus on vocabulary. The focus has been much more on grammar and syntax and pronunciation. But what research shows and what teaching experience shows is that a focus on well-chosen vocabulary words can be very, very beneficial for quickly improving English proficiency. But here in Japan, we have two really big problems. Number one is that students, just second language learners here in Japan, just don't have enough vocabulary, and that the vocabulary they do have is often not the right kind of vocabulary to help them with being proficient in English. And the second kind of corollary problem is that the reading materials they are exposed to in the classroom are often far above their level. Now, the English language is actually quite enormous in scope. The largest dictionary of English, the Oxford English Dictionary, states that there is more than 600,000 word families in the English language, a very daunting number. But the good news is that not all words are created equally. Of those 600,000 words, the average native speaker only knows about 5% of the language, about 25 or 30,000 of those words. So if your target is to speak English like a native speaker, there's 95% of the language that you can ignore. That said, this brings us to problem number one, which is that learners just don't know enough vocabulary words, whereas native speaker vocabulary size is about 30,000 words. In Japan, even after 10 or 12 years of systematic study of English in the public school system, students are averaging only somewhere between 2,500 and 3,000 words, a small fraction of what native speakers know. And as you can see, this is not a problem specific only to Japan, but many countries around the world where English is taught as a second language, students just don't have very big vocabulary size, even after many years of study. But you might say to yourself, well, 2,000, 3,000 words, that's still a lot. Maybe it's enough for them to get by. Well, as teachers, we often tell our students, if you come across a word that you don't know, what you should do is try not to look the word up in the dictionary, but try to guess the meaning of the word from context. It's often repeated expression by teachers to their students. And the question is, at what level are you able to actually read and guess from context as teachers want their students to do? Here's a passage from a college university textbook on the topic of forestry. And what I've given you is the first 1,000 most frequent words of English. You can see those. Anything above that is blanked out. So if you knew the first 1,000 most frequent words of the English language, you would be able to read about 75% of the words on the page. And the question is, at this level, can you read the passage and guess the missing words easily? And I think what you will find is that guessing at this level, if you only know 75% of the words on the page, is almost impossible. It's very, very difficult. But let's take a look at what happens if you have a larger vocabulary size. Instead of a 1,000 word vocabulary size, let's imagine you know 2,000 words. Now, instead of 15 missing words, there's only 9 missing words. The yellow words are the words that have been added. Those are words from the 1,000 to 2,000 word level. So theoretically, the text should be a bit easier to read. And my question is, at 85%, can you read and guess the missing words from context? And I believe the answer is no, not easily. But look what happens at the 95%. 95% is reached when you know about the first 5,000 most frequent words of the English language, and the text looks very different. In this case, you would know almost all of the words except for one. And at this level, you probably can read and guess the missing word. And the good news is, even if you can't, even if you couldn't guess that missing word at this level, reading becomes easy enough that you can skip the words you don't know and still comprehend the reading passages. And this brings us to what we call a vocabulary threshold research. And these thresholds are very important milestones for second language learners. And interestingly, some of the most important vocabulary threshold research was done by Batya Lofer here in Israel, and also a very good friend of mine. So I was strongly influenced by her research, and always tried to do my best to somehow follow in her footsteps and hopefully be as good as her. But what we can see in this threshold research is that if you know less than 80% of the words on the page, reading is almost impossible. And I think you experience that at 75% level. For me, one of the important thresholds is at 90%, because at 90%, what you have is about half of the students will be able to finally read and guess from context, but the other half of the students will still be struggling. But at least you're over that threshold for a good portion of the students. And at 95%, that's the level where almost all of the students will be able to read and guess from context. More recent research has been talking about reading for pleasure levels, not just reading and guessing from context, but reading for pleasure is often, we often talk about 98 or even 99% as an important threshold for that. Now, let's go back and talk a little bit about difficulty of text. If you know the 2,000 most frequent words of the English language and you try to read text for native speakers, those are the three that are just below me. If you tried to read Time magazine, you would get about 81% coverage for those first 2,000 most frequent words in the English language. A typical newspaper, about 85%, and a novel like Harry Potter, even higher, 90%. But when we look on the right-hand side, this is an analysis of 3 of the top-selling Ministry of Education approved textbooks in Japan. They're old. This is back in the late 90s, but recent research sort of shows that there hasn't been much change. But what you can see is that the percentages are below 80%, meaning that these texts, in terms of vocabulary load, are very, very hard, harder than Harry Potter or Time magazine even. And this causes a lot of problems with student motivation, student confidence, and so on. So this is actually a very serious issue. So why does that problem occur? One of my graduate students, who's now actually a professor, Kita Kikuchi, did some research on Japanese university entrance exams where English is a required subject. And what he did is he analyzed the difficulty of the reading passages, the English reading passages on some of the top universities in Japan. And he found that in almost every case, the difficulty of the entrance exam passages was also much harder than native speaker materials. That 80% line is that red dotted line. Anything above that is like Time magazine and Harry Potter, actually easier. Below, the lower the bar, the more difficult the text. You can see at Nagoya University, 2,000 words only gets you 68% coverage. So it's a very, very difficult entrance exam. And what we have is this kind of backwash effect. The entrance exams are difficult, so the textbooks are difficult, and the vocabulary that the students study and are exposed to, and the reading materials they study and exposed to, are far, far too difficult. So what's the solution? Well, that's what the new General Service List project is all about. What we are trying to do is to create a series of shortcuts. We're looking at the vocabulary size of a native speaker as 30,000 words. And what we're trying to do is to create lists that are far, far shorter than 30,000 words, but are enough to get students to the level of independence where they can read and listen to and interact with text and understand them without the help of dictionaries or teachers. And the most important, the first list that we published back in 2013 is called the New General Service List. And the 2,800 words in the New General Service List, on average, will get you about 92% coverage for most books and magazines and newspapers. And this is pretty amazing when you think that the size of a native speaker, vocabulary size of a native speaker is 30,000. So less than 10% of the vocabulary that a native speaker knows, and you already know 92% of the words on the page. So, this is the new General Service List, but why do we need a new one? The new one implies that there is an old one, and actually there is an old one, Michael West's 1953 General Service List, which at the time was an amazing piece of research. It was done without the aids of computers, and they created a 2.5 million word hand created corpus. And created a list of words to meet the needs of second language learners. It was very good, but it was created 60 years ago and was getting a bit old, and there were several problems that we felt needed to be addressed. The first of which is that the corpus size, 2.5 million words, is far, far too small to have accurate frequency counts for words above the 1,000 word level. So we knew that we needed to increase the size of the corpus. The second weakness is that the texts that were in the old General Services corpus were very, very old, and vocabulary lists are a reflection of the corpus they are created from. And so what we were seeing with the old General Service List is, especially at the 1,000 to 2,000 word level, a lot of words that were not really useful for students, growing up in the 21st century. There were a lot of agriculture words, a lot of religion words, a lot of words that really weren't the most important words for that second language learners today would be exposed to. So we needed to create a more modern corpus. And then the third reason is that the old General Service List only offered about 80% coverage, and we knew that that wasn't really enough to get students over those important thresholds. So we set a target, an initial target of a minimum of 90%, and almost all of our word lists are above the 90% word level, with the new General Service List getting 92%. The corpus that we use for the new General Service List is the Cambridge English corpus, which is one of the largest corpora in the world. I think there's more than 2 billion words when we started using it in 2013. And we selected about 8 or 10 subcorpora from the Cambridge English corpus that we thought would be important for the needs of second language learners. And this included fiction and nonfiction journals and magazines. We used a good section of learner English. We include spoken English, including TV English, radio English, and unscripted spoken English. So the 273 million words, that's actually about 100 times larger than the original General Services corpus, and actually gave us some pretty good frequency counts. I think we publish up to about the 34K level. So how is this possible? How are we able to get such a high coverage with such a small number of words? This has to do with what is known as the principle of Zipfian law. George Zipf was a mathematician, and if you state the law in words, it says that frequency decreases with rank, More precisely, frequency is inversely proportional to rank. And even though I know all about Zipfian law, and I've read this sentence 20 times, it still doesn't make that much sense to me when I read it only. So what I've done to make it a little bit easier to understand is I put a visual over to the right. And what you can see here is this represents a sample of about 10 million words from the Cambridge English corpus. And what we've done here is we've sort of done an analysis of those 10 million words. And if you were to take the 2,000 most frequent words that occur in that sample, it would be the same 2,000 words occurring over and over again. Those first 2,000 words represents about 83% of the corpus. So 8.3 million out of 10 million words is the first 2,000 words occurring over and over again. If you went to the next frequency band, the next most frequent 2,000 words, those 2,000 words would only occur about 5% of the time. The next 2,000, about 3%, the next 2,000, about 2%, the next 2,000, about 1%. And if you were to draw a line from the top of the blue box to the top of the green box to the top of the yellow box and so on, that line, that very sharp decrease, that's a Zipfian curve. And what we can see is that the high frequency words are disproportionately frequent. They occur very, very, very frequently. And the low frequency words occur almost not at all. And so what it means is that students really absolutely need to be studying these high frequency words. And that's what the new general service list and all of the word lists in our new general service list project represent. In fact, we've created 7 word lists. And we've made a modular approach. And so modular means that the word lists sort of fit together. Step 1, we believe, should be learning the new general service list words. And then step 2 is learning specific purpose, special purpose vocabulary, which is the purple lists. And, you know, those are those purple lists right up there. So step 1, new general service list. Step 2, the purple special purpose list. So why do we so strongly emphasize that the new general service list should always be step 1? And the reason for this is that if you study special purpose only, you're missing out on the core words that really can help you with daily life. The new general service list words are the words that you meet every day in books and newspapers, on TV and radio, in conversation with other people. Those words, the new general service list words, get you 92% of the way for almost all written text, and even higher for for spoken genre. For example, the TV show Friends, you get about 95% coverage with the new general service list. It's less than 0.5% of the English language and less than 10% of what a native speaker knows, and gives very, very high coverage. So let me very briefly, very quickly take you through some of the other word lists. The second word list I'd like to introduce is the academic word list, the new academic word list. And this was a 288 million word corpus of academic English, most of which is from the Cambridge English corpus, but we also added 3 million words of oral lecture English, academic lecture English, both American and British English, and then another 36 million words from top 100 academic textbooks from around the world. What you can see on the right-hand side is that although NGSL usually gives 92% coverage, in the genre of academic English, it drops down to about 86% because it's a very specific type of English. But if you learn the 960 words in the new academic word list, that brings you right back up to 92%, which is very good. Well, the new academic word list is actually an update of Avril Coxhead's academic word list that was published in 2000. And though I actually really love that list, and I think Avril's work is fantastic, we couldn't use her word list with our new general service list because our way of counting words was different than the way they were counting words. And also the starting point of the new general service list and the ending point were different than the old general service list. So we couldn't fit together efficiently her list with ours, so we made a new one. But you can see that in both cases, the new general service list and the new general service list plus new academic word list is offering more coverage than the lists that they replace. The old general service list gets somewhere between 80 and 84% coverage for general English. We're up at about 92%, so 8% more. If we go to academic corpus, we can see that the old general service list and old academic word list get about 87% coverage, whereas we're up at about 92%. So a substantial extra 5% for using that word list. We've also created something called the TOEIC word list, the TOEIC service list, that's the TSL. And this is a list of 1,200 words that occur frequently on the TOEIC exam. So if you were to study the 1,200 words of our TOEIC service list and combine that with the new general service list, you actually get an amazing 99% coverage of the English on the TOEIC exam. And one thing to note is that the new general service list just by itself offers 94% coverage for the TOEIC test. So it means that even though the new general service list is very good for general daily English, it also offers very high coverage for the TOEIC exam. The TOEIC test is said to be a test of business English, but actually we really believe that it wasn't. And so what we did is the same year, I think 2015, that we published the TOEIC service list, we also published what we call the business service list. And the business service list is actually more representative of real business English in the real world. So we took about 8 million words from the British National Corpus, the business subsections. We used web crawlers to find business web pages and took about 9 million words of that. There's 25 million words of typical business newspapers and magazines, and then another 21 million words of business texts. And what you see is the new general service list by itself gives about 91% coverage. And if you study the 1,700 words in our business service list, it brings you up to about 97% coverage. Recently, we were asked to help some gyms, an American gym chain that was trying to open in Japan, and they wanted me to do research to identify the most important fitness words that would occur in a gym so that they could create an English medium only gym in Japan. And so we created what is now known as the Fitness English List. And this is about a 9.7 million word of corpus of fitness English. And if you just study the top 600 most frequent words in that corpus, which is our fitness word list, and combine that with the new general services, you're getting about 98% coverage for the kind of English that you would typically be exposed to in gym or fitness settings. We've also published what is known as the NGSLS. You can see it inside the yellow box because it's sort of a subset of the new general service list. The new general service list had 3 spoken subsections, TV English, radio English, and unscripted spoken English. And we had a university in southern Japan ask us if we could do the frequencies for just the spoken subsections, since their program focused on spoken English only. And so we ended up doing that for them and then publishing it as a list called NGSLS. And what you can see is that for the NGSL proper, the main list, it takes more than 2,000 words to reach 90% coverage. But for the spoken word list, it takes only 700 words. So it's a very, very short list of words that are very frequent in spoken English. The final list, one that we just published a few months ago, is known as the new Dolce list. And the new Dolce list is a major update of the original Dolce list, which was published in 1936, focused on the needs of young learners. The original Dolce list was focused on native speakers of English, and the coverage was said to be 50 or 70%. The reason for wanting to do the update is that I noticed that a lot of publishers and a lot of schools were using the NDL in second language learning situations. And I felt that this list was primarily for native speakers. So that was one problem. The other problem is that the 70% coverage mark was just not enough. So the new Dolce list is primarily focused on the needs of second language learners of English and gives 78% coverage at the 315 word level, which is what the old Dolce list was. But we expanded it to 875 words because at that point, that's where you get 90% coverage. So those are the 7 word lists. But in addition to that, we've been working very hard over the years to collect and also create a series of tools that focus on help teachers and students to utilize our word lists. So on the New General Service List website, that's NGSL, newgeneralservicelist.org, what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to find all of our word lists. They're all downloadable. There's original definitions for them. There's research articles. There's learning applications, assessment tools, research tools, and online text analysis and text creation and leveling tools. I'll just show you a few screenshots. Let's go to the first one. For every word list, and I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but everything, all of our word list and almost all of the resources are open source and free. But you can download all of our word list in multiple formats. We try to offer each word list in alphabetized format. We offer lemmatized versions for teaching, lemmatized versions for research, which would have more of the lemmas, including some that might seem strange to classroom teachers, very low frequency lemmas. We also publish a version of each list with frequency and basic statistical data. And then we also have a downloadable version with definitions in easy English. And most of them also have Japanese as well. We have also tried to take advantage of popular free flashcard websites. Almost all of our word lists are available on the free Quizlet website and the free Memrise flashcard website. I suggest that you access those stacks from our website, though, because our word lists are pretty well known and hundreds of people from around the world have uploaded their own versions, and the quality can vary a little bit. So a good starting point would, if you want to use Quizlet Memrise, is to go to newgeneralservicelist.org and access it from there first. I've also created a series of free flashcard apps for the new General Service List and the new Academic Word List, as well as the old GSL and the old AWL. These are called New General Service List Builder, New Academic Word List Builder. These are available for iPhone and Android, and there's English and Japanese interfaces, and they teach the word list in 100-word bands. Some screenshots on the top right shows the NGSL builder. You can also see that I've included a simple spaced repetition method of learning the words to make sure that students are getting more exposure to the words they're having difficulty with, and spaced interval repetition to the words that they are learning. But as we've created more word lists, and as Apple has required more updates, we found that having so many different apps was kind of difficult. So Rob Waring and I have worked together to create a single app called Word Learner. That's the screenshot on the bottom, the 4 screenshots on the bottom. And this Word Learner app has all of our word list. It has 8 different learning games, a learner management system, and a 90K word learner dictionary. This is a learner dictionary where all the definitions are carefully curated and written in simple English. So that's called Word Learner, and that can also be accessed from our website. We've also created 2 very good tests known as the New General Service List Test and the New Academic Word List Test. These are placement and diagnostic tools that are very reliable and have very high reliability and validity. There are many, many published research articles on these lists, and this gives you very good information for the new general service list and the new academic word list. These two are available for free download and use from our website. There's also a new tool that we just put up a few months ago, which is a video concordancing resource. You can access that. You can see in the top screenshot. It can be accessed again from the pull-down menu on the left side of our website. And this instantly provides thousands of short, authentic video clips for every word in the new general service list. And this utilizes the free Youglish site. It's a very interesting resource, and I recommend that you try it out. We've also put up our word list on key corpus text analysis tools like Vocab Profile by Tom Cobb. And Rob Waring and myself have created another tool called OGTE. This helps you to analyze the difficulty of texts as well as to write texts to a specific level utilizing our word list. If you want to know more about the word list, you can go to our website. I've also done a short TED talk on the word list, which can be downloaded from the website. And on the website, you can also see a large and growing collection of research on the articles. The project is, we're 8 years in, but it's still in its infancy. The original General Services project started in 1936 and was published in 1953. That means they worked on it for 17 years. We've been working on this for about 8 years, and I have about 10 years till retirement. So I intend to be continuing to put together new word lists, new tools, improve the old word list, and continue working on this right to the end. So hopefully, by the time I retire, everything you see will be in better shape still. So thank you very much and for your time, and I hope that these resources will be of use to you.
Our heartfelt thanks to Charles for presenting and being with us throughout the conference. Charles will be available at the end of the conference to meet you and answer your questions in the main room. Once again, to the United States Embassy, thank you for the ongoing collaboration, and especially to Relo Alice Murray for her support.